to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, Brian Glenney, grew up in the Seattle area where he started skating in the late 80s. After completing his PhD in 2007, he started teaching philosophy at the university, first in Massachusetts and since 2015 at the Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont. In the last few years, Brian has made a strong name for himself in the skateboarding academia world thanks to the numerous research papers he's put out, from polluted leisure to gray spaces, stance, and many more topics. His most recent book in collaboration with Sander Hölsgens, called Skateboarding in the Senses, Skills, Surfaces, and Spaces, was published in September 2024, and he has many more interesting projects in the works. So here's my conversation with Brian. I hope you'll enjoy it. So from what I could find, I saw that you were born in 1974, that you grew up in the Seattle area. And so you studied philosophy. You did first a BA in Seattle that you completed in like the late 90s. And you then followed up with a Master of Arts, and I think in Scotland actually. I don't know if you were actually there or if you were in the States.
I lived in St. Andrews, yeah.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And you completed your PhD in philosophy at the University of Southern California in LA in 2007. And since then, you've basically been working as a professor. You were first an assistant professor at Gordon College in Massachusetts between 2007 and 2015 in the philosophy department. And I read, so this is from Wikipedia, so I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I thought it was interesting. It says on there that you taught for a number of years at the Religious Liberal Arts School, but due to your LGBT advocacy, you were terminated as associate professor.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Is that true? You were suspended because of that?
Yeah, it's pretty blatant. I mean, legally they can't fire you for, advocating marginalized populations. And so they had some kind of like financial exigency, and they laid off like around a dozen faculty and staff. Of course, all of those faculty and staff were, advocates of LGBT. So it was a crazy time. Of course, I have, you have 4 kids, and they're all, like, none of them are even in high school yet.
Yeah, because that was in 2015, around there, right?
Yeah. So it was like, man, I sold all my books, all my philosophy books, and I was like, I'm starting over.
Oh, you considered like not pursuing another job as a professor? Okay.
Exactly. So I just applied across the board, including some academic positions. And then in strangely, in a couple weeks, I locked in this job at where I am now in Vermont.
Right. So in 2015, you got suspended from your work at this university in Massachusetts, but then you found this other job at, how do you say, Norwich?
Yeah, just Norwich.
Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont.
Yeah.
And you've been there ever since, and you were first an assistant professor, and now you're associate professor in philosophy. Obviously, you're a lifelong skateboarder. I'm not sure exactly what year you started, but you'll tell us about that. You're also known to be associated with the Worble crew.
Yeah, my boys.
Yeah, from Vermont, which led to the creation of Manramp. I read that you're also a big graffiti guy. You were a member of the Big Time Mob graffiti crew.
Yeah.
And you're also known for your love of hardcore and punk music. You were part of bands in Seattle. I think 2 of them were Human Struggle and The Guilty. And as we mentioned also, you have 4 kids who I believe all skate, which is crazy. And I think you told me this when we saw each other in Bordeaux. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And also, something I didn't know about that I thought was interesting is that you designed the accessible icon for disability, which was part of the Accessible Icon Project. I'm not sure exactly when that started, maybe early 2010s, around there.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're known for your many research papers on and around skateboarding that you've put out throughout the years on a bunch of different subjects, some of them on your own, some of them in collaboration with other researchers in skateboarding. And the most recent book that, at least that I know of, that you put out was with Sander Hölsgens, and it's called Skateboarding and the Senses, Skills, Surfaces, and Spaces. And that came out late 2024.
Yeah.
Did I say anything wrong?
Man, you got my data. That's perfect.
Okay, good. All right, so yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's see.
Brian, John Dahlquist here from Malmö. I have a question for you, and it's based on my imagination of you as a high school student. Last year, when we met in London for the Common Ground Symposium, I saw two things in you. One was the critical thinking straight shooter with an amazing way with the words, and also your excellent taste in windbreakers, which is always impressive to see. A good windbreaker goes a long way. I imagine you as a high school student that what today is your critical thinking perhaps was calling bullshit, and your productivity was probably a lot of energy. And my question, if I'm right in this assumption, is what has it taken for you to channel that energy and to find your voice in writing? And also, what have your high school teachers or other adults around you done to help you on the way? Because I think a lot of times that person, that punk skater in the windbreaker is sitting in my classroom, and I often think about how I can support in the best way during a time when it's chaotic, wild, and the mind is full of switch crooks rather than philosophical thoughts. I hope you can shine some light on this and help me become a better teacher. No pressure. Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.
good Lord. That's such an insightful question. I
thought it was interesting, yeah.
I mean, I think he would not like me as a high school. John would not like me as a high school student just because of my incessant energy. I mean, almost, Dead Kennedys has a song, Hyperactive Child, and that pretty much signals me. But I think it's a question of pedagogy. And let me answer that super quick, and I'll jump into this other stuff. So I don't teach. I like the Bruce Lee, the art of teaching without teaching.
Okay.
What I try to do is cultivate fertile spaces, fertile times. And that takes a lot of work to make a student like myself feel like I'm loved and I am cared for and that they are seeking to understand me.
Mm-hmm.
And once you kind of have that sense, once you've created that space for somebody, I think then it's a really fertile ground for their learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all that crazy energy can find some focus. And I mean, maybe one high school kind of story can help, see this. I around age 15, I was straight edge, hardcore.
Yep.
So X's on my hands, and I was very into it. Shows every weekend, learning all the songs so I could sing along with the local bands like Undertow. And it's very, very powerful to me. But I was so energetic, I was not good at my social skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking for acceptance. And so with all that energy, I found movements, causes. And one of the first ones that I found was what's called Hardline. And that's this kind of militant vegan ideal where you try to arrange society in such a way as to where it promotes, the care and love of all sentient creatures.
Yeah.
Often through the violence to those who are perpetuating the cruelty. So we had this guy, Dave Larson, shout out Daoud, and I would go about engaging in illegal activities in support of animals. I think some people call that ALF now, but this was like a 15-year-old version of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that really focused my energy. And in a way, the cause created an environment that was very fertile because I was like, here's something I can do with all my energy, and the people that are engaged in this same activity, they care about me, they're kind, they want my best type of situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I really gravitated into that until the arrests started coming, and there was just a lot of violence that was associated with that kind of activity. And that's just not sustainable unless you're just not unless you're thinking in the very short term. So So I do wonder if skateboarding just is that focal point for a lot of people to put their energy and see, just like you, Quentin, once you get that hook in you, that focus to all your energy, even when you can't skate, you still think about skateboarding. Yeah. And you still kind of pursue these other skills and other craft-like abilities that you have and see how that they can, promote skateboarding. And essentially, I think that's what happened, like with becoming a professor, studying philosophy. And I'm like, man, I wonder if this craft, this intellectual craft, can actually shed light on some of skateboarding's, like mysteries or something like this. So, John, my gosh, what an incredible question. And, I pass it on. Like, I just got a new coach's jacket. And, man, it's like got the little fur on the inside, the little fake fur. It's like one of my favorites. So, yeah, I'm always on the hunt for those best jackets ever.
How did you initially get interested in punk and hardcore music and vegan and what was it? Straight edge. Yeah, straight edge. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, the entry point, right? This is like such an interesting question. And there's this kid, Zach Gibson, 4th grade, comes in with spiked hair, and I'm just this kid looking for some kind of, I don't know, some purpose, kind of cool. Yeah. Well, just like I just didn't know where I was going. And this kid looked like he knew where he was going. So I was just hanging out with him, and around 6th and 7th grade, he started skating. And I was like, I'm in, but my father was like a religious, like a minister.
Okay.
And so I was trying to get a skateboard, and he was open to it, but he was like, haha, like you have to memorize 100 verses from the Bible. Oh, and same to me. Yeah. Wow. And I did it. I did it. Heck yes, I did it. And I did it, and I remember going to like Costco or like one of these huge places where you buy groceries, and they had skateboards there, and I got this. It was like basically a Veriflex, and I remember peeling off the cellophane before we bought it, and the smell. It's kind of like back in the 80s and 90s, you would buy tapes, and you would unwrap it and you open it up. You see those liner notes, but you'd smell, it's probably just so toxic, whatever they sprayed in there.
Probably.
But, they don't, the cellophane that wraps a skateboard doesn't smell like that anymore. So I don't know what happened. So yeah, it's like, Zach Gibson. And then, so skateboarding, got my board. I sucked, but I was in it. And then Zach Gibson's like, yo, me and some friends were going to see Judge downtown Seattle, and I was 15, and I was like, I can't drive there. And he's like, we're taking a bus. Bus didn't come in time, so we called up our friend, and we drove like 30 miles in the back of his pickup, and we had to pay him $10, which was so much at the time.
Yeah.
And then I saw my first show, and Judge didn't even show up.
Oh no. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was like, that's incredible. But I didn't know. This is my first show, so I didn't know Judge. But there was enough like hardcore happening there where I was like, oh my gosh, like people are slamming into each other. People are grabbing the mic and singing along with the singer. I'm like, this is
my
real.
Shit.
Yeah, this is it. It like hit me in a way where after a while I didn't need Zach Gibson. He was like my host, my tour guide.
Yeah, the entry point.
Yeah, precise.
All right. Well, it's changing gears a little bit, but this one is from Chris Colbourn.
Oh, Cookie.
He said to ask you about the origin of Manramp.
Yeah, he's doing that to me.
Yeah. So did you initially connect with the Worble guys when you arrived in Vermont, or did you know them prior to that?
Prior to that, they were my students.
Oh, okay.
At the religious school.
No way. In Massachusetts. Yeah. Okay.
In Massachusetts. It was like my second year teaching there, and I'm like advising the students that have no major. And day one, this shy, awkward kid with dark hair whose name was Tom Mull is just sitting in the corner, and I have to go up to him, and I'm like, hey, so I hear you don't have a declared major, like, and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I declared that I'm in communications. And so I was like, oh yeah, I was like, exactly. I was like, all right, dude, like whatever. And then out of nowhere, he like picks up a skateboard. I didn't even see it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, all right, let's see. And like we walked over there, and I'm like, hey, can I see your skateboard? And I grabbed it. I kick flipped over a speed bump first try.
Oh wow! You must have been blown away.
That was rare for me. And yeah. He if he listens to this, Tom, you know you were blown away. So yeah. So that was my introduction to Tom, and then his brother Steve came after. So yeah, to the point, to Cookie's point, there was a day where so Tom and Steve and their brother Dave had moved to LA. Mm-hmm. And they were making a run, and Tom basically got his very first series with the barracks.
Oh, yeah.
And it was basically the Worble skating different surfaces. So like ice, grass. And so I was in some of those, but the day that Cookie's talking about, Cookie was there. And it was like this kind of weird little contest at a place called Talent.
Oh, yeah. In Vermont, skate
Vermont,
park, right?
In Burlington.
Yes, and, I think Cookie told me about this when we did his episode, yeah.
Yeah. That's basically where Cookie became Cookie. And we were, by this time, it was like Talent 2.0. So the skate park had been rearranged in such a manner to where, it was like more for 2010s skating, right?
Mm-hmm,
I mean, anyway, so they had updated it, and we were all skating there. And it was like a Worble like thing. I don't even remember why, but Tom was like, hey, we have to film for this barracks thing, but we don't have a surface. I don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, whatever, I'll go with you. And so I had just done a crook and slipped out and got a Charlie horse, and I could barely walk. And I was like, oh man, I guess I won't be in this surface video. Like I was bummed.
Yeah.
And it was literally 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't know what
very cold. I'm not sure, but it's
very
freezing.
Cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, freezing temperature is 32, so it was like way below freezing. And Tom's like, yeah, let's just go to the water. Maybe we'll find something. And we found this little piece of plywood.
Okay. Yep.
And I couldn't skate, so I was like, hey, roll on me. Roll on me, guys. And so there's actually it's out there. They were just falling on top of me. You got, it's secret footage. Tom actually probably doesn't want anyone to see it, but anyway. So things start escalating with this freaking piece of plywood, and I'm up against the wall, and I'm holding it so that Alex Ferrara, otherwise known as Manramp today, so I'm holding this piece of plywood so that he can go up and wall ride.
Right, yeah.
Which,
like a bank.
In my opinion, it was like a bank thing. I did it as a kid, but somehow, like, things started to take more significance because it was like, oh, plywood surface. And then we're going along, and Cookie's trying to do some weird trick. I mean, you know him. He's trying to, like, do a nose pick on the edge of a bench, and it's not working out. And I'm like, yo, ride up this piece of plywood and hit it. And so I set the plywood there, and he was riding up it, and the plywood kept bumping off. So I'm like, oh, let me get under the plywood like I did with Alex.
Yeah.
So So basically, and then he lands it, and I'm like, wow, like this makes
we have a concept
spots.
Here.
yeah, we have a concept here. But then I didn't think about it, and within a couple years, Tom and Alex had kind of created this incredible, I don't know, this idea. They kind of put a brand on it, so to speak. And it just kind of evolved from there. And I think there's been there's been a couple other episodes where we've held various materials like metal pipes as a kind of, I was like the grandpa ramp or something like that. I don't know. But honestly, I think on that wiki page, I had to be very careful because it's a moneymaker, so to speak, for Tom and Alex. So they have full rights. And okay. I was just like a creative inspiration.
Yes, okay. The original Manramp.
Well, I like to say so, but But yeah, I mean, Cookie was, I think, the first Grandpa Ramp participant, because he really, and then maybe Alex was because he did the wall ride. I don't know. It's kind of funny to think about.
But did it go straight from you kind of being under the plywood to Alex becoming Manramp, sort of?
I mean,
or were they kind of all doing it at some point, or was it always kind of Alex from that point on?
Well, Alex is so strong, and I think, he was the kind of the natural fit for the plywood holder.
Yeah.
And then, the helmet came along because I think he got hit in the head, and then gloves and glasses. So, finally the Carhartt overalls. So you can start, you can, it's kind of interesting to see organic evolution or like social evolution like happen before your eyes. But the cool thing is that Manramp is skate adjacent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet part of skate lore today. And I'm just waiting for some papers that have like Marxist interpretations of who Manramp is. I know this amazing skate scholar, Bethany Geckel, has a section where, Manramp is kind of YMCA, kind of a cross-dresser, if you will. And so there's kind of this wonderful like cross-dressing way of reading what Manramp is. And of course he's subverting labor. He's not doing construction, he's doing play.
Yeah.
He's making play. And I think that unconsciously at least sits very well with, what skaters are all about.
Let's see. Let's do this next one.
Hey, Brian. Stoked about this episode of Beyond Boards. You are a dear friend and colleague, but also something of an enigma. At any time we are liaising on our research, you might be out taking photos at a hardcore gig, skating with your family and the Worble crew, or even helping out Bernie Sanders. Now, we only recently were skating together around Rotterdam, joining Sander for his book launch, and yet I still have a trove of questions for you, so I'm going to have to narrow this down. Firstly, tell us some early stories of the rewilding Worble crew and your role in the evolution of Manramp. Secondly, what is the link between Molyneux's problem, a Braille Rubik's Cube, and skateboarding stance? Convince us. Thirdly, my latest count, I think we have written 6 papers together, and we have a couple in the works. Now, which is your favorite and why? Really looking forward to this chat. Sending all the best to you and Quentin. Big love. Bye.
Oh my. Paul, I was just thinking about you this morning. You know what's dangerous about Paul? Every word can become a paper. and you know what that means? That means every word can become a 2-week obsession.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I spent since 4 a.m. this morning, so the last 6 hours, on a paper called Skateboarding Kings, where skateboarders are like the aristocracy of the city, the nobility of the city. And that's all because of this freaking little quote that Paul sent me from Morissette. But anyway, so Paul and I were skating in Rotterdam, and
that was not long ago, right?
Yeah, this was like a couple weeks ago, I want to say. Yeah. Maybe March. And what was that last point that he just said?
The last part was the 6 papers you did together. And
yeah, was the favorite.
One was your favorite one? Yeah.
I mean, his is this one on arrhythmia, Lefebvre's concept of rhythmia.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite is our first one, how skate parks are a hybrid, or what Paul called the pole jam paper. And that's because we're in London skating around, and I'm just trying to get into skate scholarship. This is like 2018 at the first Pushing Borders.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just getting to know Paul, and we're just pushing around, and, I'm like, man, I'd love to work with you. That awkward first, like, hey, man, can I be your friend? Yeah, can I be your friend? Exactly. And so he's like, oh, man, I've got this full draft, but it's not working out. I'll send it to you. And yeah, I basically redrafted it, and boom, it just got published. That's the skate park hybridity paper. So that's my favorite because it really point of entry for our co-authorship, which will continue until we both die, ride or die, I guess. So There was a question about, oh God, Paul? So many. Do you remember another one that he asked?
Yeah. He said the first one was about early stories of the rewilding Worble.
Yeah,
film.
I think that's a really good question.
We did talk a little bit about Manramp, but like, yeah, you did mention earlier like how you first connected with Steve and Tom and everybody. But
this is what Paul really wants to know about is this first paper that Steve and I wrote together.
Yeah, because I did read one that you did with him. I don't remember what it's called, but what is the one you're referencing? What was the first one you worked on?
It was this concept that skateboarding works with its ecology.
Oh yeah, that's the one I read. Yes.
Yeah. And this
From
is actually
2018 or 2019.
Yeah, very early for me. I haven't been doing this long, but anyway, yes, I was teaching environmental ethics. Steve was in that class, and he's like, "Hey, don't you think skateboarders are kind of like animals in the forest, like birds in the forest, gathering little sticks for their nest and like blah, blah, blah." And I was like, write that. And so he wrote that paper. He first drafted it. And then we just kept going back and forth to make that paper. And I think this is where this idea of rewilding comes from, because this is very early Worble. Before they went to LA, they made a feature-length film, which I think might have been called Rewild. But the last part is Dave Mull skating, and every trick he does, after every trick, Tom inserted beautiful like animals doing what they do, right? Mm-hmm. So a crow flying, a bird building a nest, deer galloping through a meadow, there was just a bunch of these like connections between what skaters do in the city and what animals do in their climb. And the idea there is like what a skateboarder does in the city is make these tame, domesticated spaces wild again.
Yeah, because you're using them in a different way than what it was initially purposed as. Yeah,
that's exactly right, Quinn. So that's where that concept of Rewild is. And then when the boys got to LA, they're like, we're done with Rewild. They're like, we're done with that idea. We're moving to something else. And I've always been like, gosh, that was such a good idea, and why isn't it an idea anymore? Mm-hmm. I really do wonder. I do think about that. And so, yeah, maybe, Manramp, I would love to think, I'd love to think about how is Manramp a continuation of this rewilding theme, but just a different form of that? What does it really mean to like treat the city in the same way that a bear treats a forest or a fish treats a stream? Or how it engages in its ecology. So I think these are like wonderful open questions.
Yeah.
And to the fourth point, what Paul's angling at is this book I wrote, and it actually just came out like a couple months ago on Molyneux's question, which is like, a 300-year-old philosophical question. Imagine a man born blind, familiar with the shape of a cube and a sphere by touch. If he's suddenly made to see, would he identify the cube from the sphere by sight alone?
Yeah.
And I've spent my philosophical career trying to answer that question, and it's super fun. But I have this crazy paper where I put that in the context of skateboarding. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe this is what he's angling for. So imagine a 1960s female skater, with a skinny board and whatever, skating down a hill between cones, whatever was doing handstands and stuff like that, whatever was happening in the 60s. Imagine she goes into a coma for 40 years. She wakes up and on the TV are several channels of different types of skateboarding. And she flips through, she sees like longboarders and she sees vert skating and, and I think this is the Molyneux's question about skateboarding. What channel does she go like, oh, they still skate?
Yeah. I remember this, or this evokes what I was doing before. Yeah.
It's an open question. Of course, I have my preference, which is like she would stop at street skating, but I don't know. I think it's a delightful question. My colleague Sander, he's into this thing called skateboardings,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you'd probably say, oh, all of the channels, dude. And, but I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Quentin?
I don't know. Yeah, but I would be tempted to say street skating like you, just because it's my personal preference. But
Yeah.
but I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, it depends of who we're talking about and their own experience and everything. But it's an interesting question. It's quite interesting. I was reading a little bit about the Molyneux's problem.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. You got it.
And I had never heard about that, but that seems to have been something as you mentioned, you've worked on, researched a bunch throughout your career, even before you were doing stuff around skating.
Yeah. That was what I did my dissertation on.
Right. Yes, your PhD.
Yeah. And so it has a lot to do with like neuroscience and concepts of blindness, and it's such a diverse topic. You can never feel like you've answered it. And again, it's like marriage, right? You never feel you can love this person enough. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like I'm so happy that I got married to this question, so to speak. And so it's just like a practice almost.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about it.
Okay, let's see. This one is from Kristin Ebeling.
Oh, man.
So she said, Brian, you are what many would consider a punk rock parent. If you wrote a parenting paper, what would it be called, and what would be your main thesis?
It's
hard to answer on the spot.
Well, I think there's, it depends on what my mind is on. So here's one. Do not let your kids skate. If you think of the average skater and their level of athletic intelligence, like what it takes to be a skater, it's so much. Just to learn a kickflip, Yeah. Imagine, a tray, right? So that kind of athletic activity right now, if it's focused into, say, football, will make you millions of dollars. So there is a sense, like one part of me as a parent who wants their kid to be better than me wants to hide the skateboard.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm not sure that the sense of meaning and fulfillment and community that develops out of football can hold a candle to skateboarding. Mm-hmm. And so there's this another part of me that views success as this, again, sense of meaning, fulfillment, having a deep bond with your community, a life practice that you can continue on until your body simply stops working. And then it continues on in your mind and in your attuned senses. Mm-hmm. So that other part of me is like, hey, you must, as a parent, give your kid a chance to learn to skate, to be a skater. Give your kid a chance. Cultivate an environment where, look, they can be themselves in a space of total free play without fear of competition, and where you cooperate by skating with them. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then when they surpass your level, you get that VX1. You get that HVX, and you film them to the best of your ability and try to get a sponsor me tape. You do what it takes to be, to cultivate that soil for them to grow into the best skate plant imaginable. Actually, I like that second paper way better.
That's cool. Were your kids always kind of interested in skating? And because I thought it was interesting that all four of them, at least to my knowledge, I don't know if they all skate right now or if they skated at different times in their lives.
No, they all skate.
But okay.
They've never stopped. And I think, there's this...
How did you kind of get them... Because, like, for example, I'm trying to think, but my dad didn't skate, obviously. But I think I kind of grew up not wanting to be like my dad a little bit,
Yeah.
And so I find it interesting that they saw what you were doing and were inspired and wanted to imitate that and follow that path. And how did you kind of cultivate that? And
Quentin, the opposite happens too. I've got a couple dads that skate, and their kids are like, "Oh, that's dad's thing. I don't want to have anything to do with that." And so I think you play a little game, where you do not introduce them to skateboarding. Then you're the point of entry. What happened is I had, of course, skateboards around the house, but I didn't skate in front of them. And they found those skateboards. Mm-hmm. And I still remember my oldest, Ivan, he was in the basement and I heard all this noise. And I I was like, I know that noise. And, you get the chill and you're like, okay, I'm on. And so this is a point where if you really want your kid if you want it to stick, you introduce, you cultivate, you cultivate the soil. Before this kid got very good, I brought a rail slide bar and I just put it in the basement.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like probably 2 weeks later where I was just, ignoring him, but of course not obsessively like listening, where he's like, Dad, I got something to show you. And he brought me downstairs and he, board slid this, like it was like 10 feet long, like a foot and a half high.
Wow.
And in this
after
little
2 weeks of skating?
Yeah, after 2 weeks of skating.
Wow.
And it was crazy. So I try not to encourage him too much. I just you got to keep it on the level.
Yeah. Don't get too good too fast. Yeah.
That's right. But I also introduced them to like other subcultures, including like hardcore.
Yeah.
And so, that's stuck with some of them as well. So, I just, in my mind, I'm like, hey, all you need to do is expose like these kids to the funnest thing ever and it'll stick. But we both know that's not how it actually works.
Yeah.
It's a very sensitive, you have to be very mindful of the whole dynamic, and you cannot be the one that does the work.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Yeah.
Well, kind of linked to everything we just talked about, this next question is from your son, Levi, who's a fantastic skater himself. I was watching, I think, on his Instagram, or maybe yours, I don't remember, but he did a grind on this rail somewhere, like kind of kinked, not kinked, but like, I don't know, it was just crazy. I was watching it, and he seemed just so comfortable grinding this rail. I was like, wow, it's insane. Anyways, his question is, your path to philosophy ultimately led you to quit skateboarding for a while. So how has your perspective on philosophy changed now that you have become a skate philosopher? How long did it take you to start thinking philosophically about skateboarding?
Oh, man. Yeah, he's keeping me humble here. Indeed, I went to USC and I skated to class and back to class. But after some weird looks from some professors, I was like, okay, maybe I need a reset here. Maybe the thing that got me here won't get me to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I, in fact, like chilled on skateboarding and finished my PhD. By the time I finished my PhD, by the way, I had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And that's going to take some time. I had my 3 boys by then. Levi, you're the reason why I came back to skateboarding. It was Levi who was the first. I mentioned how Ivan like kind of got the skateboard, but it was Levi who really engaged it first.
Okay.
And just went for it. And
how old was he when he first got interested in it? Was he very young, I assume, or?
He was 9.
9. Okay. Okay.
And Ivan was like an older 10. And I'm not going to say that maybe I bought Ivan a scooter and he got really good at scootering. And then Levi's like, well, I'm not going to scooter because that's what my older brother's doing. That's his thing, exactly. I'm not going to do that to Ivan, but maybe that partially influenced why he did it. And I'm not going to say that my youngest boy, Axel, loved rollerblading. Mm-hmm. And I literally had to throw the rollerblades in the garbage and act like they were lost to get him to transition. Yeah. So yeah, these are very, very sensitive times in the soil, that you're trying to grow these skaters and you're checking the pH and, So I started skating again, of course, and the kids really were going for it because I'm like, this is every skater's dream. I mean, I'm not missing out on this. Mm-hmm. And then Paul was the one, I think that was the first paper. He wrote this paper on helmet neglect in Hong Kong skaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? You mean there's like skateboarding like scholars?
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I could be one.
Okay.
So it takes a while. Maybe that was a re-entry, point where Paul was for me, where I was able to connect those two dots. And, I have a lot of energy with skateboarding and a lot of energy with philosophy. And all of a sudden I have double that energy. And I think that's like the explanation for this output that I've been able to maintain for a couple years.
All right, let's do this next one.
Okay, Brian, so here's the question. Best story, skate or otherwise, that probably shouldn't be shared on social media.
Could you hear that? The volume is quite low on the recording.
I heard that.
Okay. Did you recognize who it was?
This guy wants me to get in trouble.
Yeah, apparently.
And that's like all my friends, though. So
yeah,
I'm trying. Wait, come on, give it to me. Give it to me real quick.
Thomas Kemp.
Oh my God! Tom, I barely listen. I barely hear your voice. Thomas Kemp, an economist, skate scholar. And how does he already know to ask me that question? That means he sees himself in me. Back to the hardline days. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's hear it.
I'm with Rob Boer and Dave Larson and this guy Soto. And we're like, let's go bomb a meat truck.
Okay.
So we get a bunch of rags, we get a bunch of spray paint, and we basically, our plan is to light the rags on fire when they're in the gas tank.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so, this is real ALF,
Yeah.
And so we're listening to Vegan Reich on the way to
get the juices,
to this mission. Yeah, exactly. And we're like, yes, and like Earth Crisis, firestorm to purify. So unbeknownst to us, the police station is across the street from this meat distribution plant. And they see us when we park 2 blocks away. And unbeknownst to us, they follow us, and Dave and Rob start spray painting one of the trucks. And I've already cracked open the gas, and I've stuck a rug in, one of the rags in, and I'm searching my pockets for a lighter.
Yeah.
And like 5 cop cars just pull up.
Oh, wow.
And
Holy
I was like, that feeling of surprise. So I was so surprised. I just shut the gas thing. I pulled the rag, shut the gas thing, and booked into the neighborhoods and hid out there until a canine unit came and the dogs chased me out of the yards.
Oh, shit.
And I even like ran upstream. There's like a little stream I found, and I like ran up it like the movies, but they still found me. And I mean, there's probably like 10 cops, all with guns pulled. And
holy shit.
Yeah. But you know what? We only got convicted of the vandalism because I had stashed the rag and all that other
Okay, so they couldn't
stuff.
prove you were trying to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, the moral of the story is like sometimes cops like are a good thing because if I had gone through with that, they would have eventually, they would have found me, and I would have. That's a terrorist
Your life would have
act.
Turned out different for sure.
Very much so, very much so. So let's edit that one out. What do you think?
No, I mean, so great. Yeah, crazy. Wow. How old were you when this happened? Were you like a teenager or?
Yeah, I was 16, I think.
That's wild.
Yeah, you see what happens when you have a lot of energy and you focus it.
Yeah.
Man. Can be dangerous.
All right, let's do this one.
Hey Brian, what's up? It's good to see you, Pirata. Well, we are trying to make skateboarding our life. That's what we all have in common. That is, not to work through skateboarding in a certain sense. So to contaminate our working and bureaucratic lives with skating. Many of us try to do the same in academia. So in your opinion, what's the strategy for the skater scholars to make the university more skatable? And what is the academic task more similar to skateboarding in your opinion? Bye, Brian. See you soon.
Andrea.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. My Italian anarchist there. Of course, Andrea, I met him in Tijuana where he was doing his ethnography on the Macadelos. Oh man, I'm not going to say it right. Basically, the places where they make skate decks.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he's he's a Marxist trying to figure out like the concept of the production of skateboards, right? And the meaning behind the production of skateboards. And I mean, this is going to dovetail, I swear. And he has these great stories of these workers who skate making, like whatever, $2 a day, building these decks.
Okay.
And he interviews them and they're like, yeah, you don't understand. This is the most meaningful job ever. Like, it could be that some pro like skates one of the decks I make and could even get, a picture of the board that I'm making in Thrasher, right? And that this is like incredibly meaningful. And so in the same way, the university is not unlike these really exploitive spaces making decks. I don't get paid a living wage for my efforts as a university professor. And yet I work my life for this university, right? So, but by definition, it's exploitive labor. And I guess the question is like, how do we make it non-exploitive? How do we subvert it in a way that like undermines their agenda for our own? And I think these are like a set of like DIY practices that you can engage in. And I'll give one example. With Andrea and our friend Issac, who was a professor of econ at Columbia, we wrote a paper together called like about skate play and all these different ways that skaters play. And it was published in Frontiers, which is a very expensive journal. I think it was like $2,500.
Oh wow. Okay.
But we got Isaac's university to pay for the whole thing, right? And so there's a sense in which like we exploited Columbia to have our work put out there for free and open access for everybody. So basically, if you've got this mindset of like, how do we subvert the situation to benefit skateboarding? You start to like see practices that decrease the exploitation and allow you to, in some sense, glean off of these rich landlords, And so, yeah, I think Andrea is right to like ask these questions of how skateboarding influences your mentality as a professor, and not just as a professor, in any walk of life. You will look for these gleanings to advance your passion for skateboarding, your understanding of skateboarding. Great. That was a great question.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about his work. It's quite interesting. Yeah. Is his work around what you mentioned, the board production, and is it available online?
Great question. He's got, I think, 3 papers on it, and then his dissertation is available as well.
Okay.
So yeah, Andrea Buchetti.
I'll try to find it. Yeah. Pirata.
Yeah, the pirates. All right.
Yeah. Some other people mentioned the pirates theme. You'll see. Okay, let's do this one.
Yo, Brian. It's your fellow Pink Pillow roommate from the San Diego Stoke Session Skate House, as well as your favorite public space skate scholar to sites. Although you have your own set of eyeballs that love to do 270 no-comply tail stalls / slides, if you were to receive an eye transplant with any skater, past or present, who would you choose and why? How would your knowledge, this could be philosophical, social, spatial, political, material, gray, of a city's public spaces be transformed through this sci-fi surgery and hypothetical experience? Also, for the love of God, we are all begging you to stop taking unsolicited photographs of Neil Blender at skate parks. Peace.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
Is that a true thing? Like you what? I mean, we'll get to that maybe, but I'm curious about this Neil Blender thing because I don't remember, but someone else told me about this. Maybe it was Paul. I don't remember.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell you about it. That's Chris Giamarino.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think he got locked in somewhere in Southern California as a new assistant professor. Congrats. We slept in the same bed when we were at the Stoke Sessions in San Diego, and we put a pink pillow in between us.
Okay.
And I think about that pink pillow a lot for some reason, and I don't know why. But to the Neil Blender, so I'm a big fan, and we see him ripping around on a polarizer at a skate park in San Diego that we were like, it was basically our local for the 1 week we were there.
Yep.
And I was like, I gotta get a picture. I gotta like
capture this. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it somehow. And so we were with another pro skater whose name I will not say. And he was kind of being our host for San Diego. And I love him. And I met him at skate camp, but I'm not gonna ruin his name. And I just they were talking and I just couldn't help it. I was like, hey, Cookie just texted. And I told him where I was, and he asked if Neil Blender was there. And so, can I just send a photo to him? And so I just took this picture, and you can see on Neil Blender's face that this was a bad idea, as well as the other pro, because he's a unicorn. He's a unicorn, and you cannot capture the essence of a unicorn in some photograph like that offhand. And so I was afterwards, I was chastised by this other pro, like, yo, man, like that was not cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, delete that now. And I didn't, but maybe I did. But that photo gets passed around amongst our little Stoke Sessions group quite a bit.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. You will never see it. You will never see. Yeah, unicorns are sacred objects, and okay. So this question of like the skater's eye, I think it's a good one, and it correlates with this trick that I do.
Yeah, I've seen you do this firsthand.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Were you there? I landed one in front of you. Okay.
Yeah.
And this, the reason why I do this 270 no comply to backtail is because this guy, Tom Knox, from what I understand or what I know, invented it in 89.
Okay. The OG Tom Knox.
OG Tom. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I have to clarify. I think it was a Santa Cruz. He's on Santa Cruz. It was, what the heck? Speed Freaks. Yeah, 1989. And it's just such a nonchalant trick that he did. And it stuck in my core memory.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he meant to do it. I don't know what happened to his mind, but that's the eye I want. That's the eye I have. Yeah. I'm like Tom Knox, and I've always wanted to be Tom Knox. And that's partially because he had a board come out. I think it was his first board, maybe not. And it has like Tom Knox, and there's a hand, and the X is on the hand.
Oh yeah.
And this is like the symbol for straight edge, which is
yeah. You were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. So Tom Knox like unites these two worlds for me. Even, he might not have ever been straight edge. I don't know. Maybe it was like, just a brand type situation. Yeah. I had one of those boards. I bought it. It was all black. And the first day I skated it, I fell skating home from school, and the board went under a semi truck and broke. And
okay.
Yeah, and I didn't have any money for another. And so Santa Cruz, I know you're reissuing those boards. Like, send me a box.
Yeah.
So that Tom Knox is I don't think you choose your skater's eye, and so I think Chris is wrong to say that.
Who would you choose?
Yeah. You can't really do that, and it's just like. It's like a constituency of all of your past experiences and tuning and the where you learn to skate and all that different stuff. So
So definitely.
But for some reason I have Tom Knox's eye. Anyway.
Yeah. That's cool. I thought it was interesting that you this trick, the 270 to fakey front tail or back tail, or because I think the only person I've seen do something somewhat similar is this guy who writes for Chocolate, Jordan Trahan.
Yeah.
He does like no comply back tails, and I think maybe in Static 6 he does. It's not exactly the same trick, but it's a Caballerial no comply to back tail.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly the same thing, but it's like along the same lines. And I thought it was interesting because it's definitely, when I saw you do this for the first time, I was like, wow, holy shit, where did that come from? And because that's definitely something I don't see anybody do. So it's interesting to hear you talk about Tom Knox and how that kind of inspired you. Yeah.
It is fun. I mean, honestly, this will come out later probably, but I really think you only need 3 tricks.
Yeah.
And if you have those, for your life, I mean, just think like how meaningful those tricks are,
For sure.
I don't think you choose them either. I think there's something that just come out of your body.
It organically, yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you think of all the greatest skaters, they all have like, a lot of them have signature, like Reynolds, frontside flip, Eric Costin, back nose blunt.
Precisely.
A bunch of things, like just the way you grew up skating and just the style of skating you adopt and your preferences and your skill and whatever, that all shapes you into the tricks you're going to become good at, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is why like frontside flip for the boss is so, we love it because it's so authentic, right? It really is him performing his identity.
Yeah. We want to see it whenever he pulls to a demo or a session, whatever. Everybody's like waiting for it. Like, what is he gonna do? And
I've seen it go down, and it is true, and everyone cheers. I think I saw him up in
Soul Impact, right? Did you see him over there?
He didn't skate there. This is at a demo in Seattle. All Together Skate Park, Marshall Stacks thing, and it was like just like a little like 3-stair, and everyone freaked out because he did it, and I'm like, that's so funny. Like
because it's like it's emotional. It's like everybody loves him for it. So when it happens in front of your eyes, it's like, wow.
Oh yeah,
amazing.
for real.
All right, let's do this one.
Yo, Glenney, the Godfather. What up? This is Tommy Barker from Jenkum and CSEF. Maybe my claim to fame in this context is I used to make the State of Skate reports. I think you probably know what my question is going to be here. It's my big pet peeve with academic papers that have to do with skateboarding. Well, at least one of my pet peeves. But how do we get academics to stop referencing made-up facts about skateboarding? Biggest red flag for me is to read a paper or a book by some academic, and on page 2 it says skateboarding is a $20 billion industry and there's 50 million skateboarders worldwide. That research has never been done. It would cost a ton of money to do, but I just keep seeing it, and even the most respected academic researchers who talk about skateboarding, I still see it in their work. How do we spread the word here? It's never been done. A lot of the basic facts about skateboarding are just not known. So let's figure them out rather than just pulling random numbers out of the air to quantify skateboarding. Love you, fool. Thanks for everything you do and being the godfather of this movement. Couldn't do it without you. See you at the next conference. Peace.
Word up. I'm more like the infant clown of this movement, if anything. Tommy's right. There is a trans world data bank, and it is something that actually Tommy gets, and he shared it with me a bunch, where these figures come from. Like, there's 10 million skaters globally or something like this. And it's pretty careful about like defining the level of skater. Like, so anyway, it has all this data, but he's right. That data is based on these really loose surveys that don't have statistical significance. They couldn't be accepted in a peer-reviewed journal. It's just like this kind of marketing technique, which probably ups the population in order to get people excited about skateboarding to think there's all this market potential.
Right.
And Tommy, that's kind of a secret. You're not supposed to talk about those things in public like this. But here we are. It doesn't annoy me that much as Tommy, because I think everybody that's reading it knows that it's false. So it's kind of a nod to like, hey, there's just hella skaters, and they're everywhere in the world. I don't know why it bugs Tommy. I think because he gets annoyed when people don't tell the God honest truth, and that's his problem. I think he kind of chill out on that. No, I'm just joking. I think he is. He's like, boy, if anyone should be telling the truth, it's scholars. So yeah, I take his point. I agree with him. I cite that stuff twice, and that was like 5 years ago, and I haven't cited it since. So I think we do have to do some more diligent work in getting statistically significant numbers on skate population. Well done, Tommy.
That's probably a really hard. How do you even when do you officially become a skateboarder, you know? Like, because owning a skateboarding in your garage is not being a skater, you know? It's, I wouldn't even consider myself a skater because I don't really skate anymore, you know? Like, even if I do this podcast and I skated when I was younger, I own a skateboard here, but it's basically just something to put my shoes on, you know, whatever. So anyways, it's like, what do you define, like, how do you officially kind of join the club, and when do you become a statistic, you know?
Right. And it's a spectrum. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that it's like a switch, right? Or they might, you know, implicitly, but when you think about it enough, you're like, well, actually, I haven't skated for like, 3 months because my ankle hurts.
Yeah.
Is the switch off? No, it's not off. So like Transworld is actually good about in these surveys saying like, do you skate every day? Do you skate once a week? Do you skate, every month, every year, once a year, like, and so they're able to kind of place the significance of skateboarding to you by how frequently you do it.
Yeah.
But honestly, Quentin, you are a skater.
Yeah, I guess just in the mindset, definitely.
But it's more than that. You produce your identity through skateboarding.
Sure. Oh yeah, definitely.
And so I think, and that's it's a fairly safe way of thinking about how one engages in a particular activity. You don't see like all these football fans who would die on a normal field saying like, oh yeah, I'm not a footballer.
Mm-hmm,
right. So I think, if you're thinking about skating every day or once a week, or once a month, right? So I think there's a better way of kind of assessing this question of like, performing your identity in skateboarding. And honestly, if you still have a skater's eye and you're looking around at the city and thinking like, oh man, that seems skatable, boy, that's identity production.
Yeah. No, it's very true. But it's I'd be curious to know like what these figures would actually be, like how many actual like practicing skaters
See,
there are,
you I love how you're like, let's more precisely define, actual and then in answer to Tommy, like, does it actually matter?
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't, but probably for, I don't know, just to make it appealing to, even like before the Olympics happened, like to make it appealing to the Olympic Committee to tell them, okay, skateboarding is this, it's this amount of practitioners and this amount of money.
Yeah, precisely. But in that sense, I'm happy. It's like a noble lie. Like, nobody thinks this is actually like a real statistic, but it plays a role in facilitating the production of skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
And insofar as it does that, then it is true.
Yeah.
Boy, I sound like a relativist right now.
Okay, this one is from Steve Mull. We mentioned him a bunch. So he said, over the course of your academic career, how many college students in need have you let crash at your place or live in your basement for extended periods of time? And which one was the best at no complies?
That's what I like to hear.
Is he fishing for a compliment? Or
Yeah, you know what? Steve is so humble and reserved. And I just was hanging out with him at Slow Impact, and he's listening to Dead Kennedys. He's singing like "Chicken Shit Conformist" for your parents, like all these. And I'm like, this is the Steve that I knew was always there. But so he's coming out of his shell, and he's like, "Yo, I was like the best, right?" That's what I like to hear. Of course, you were the best, Steve. Way better than Tom. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, I just like any house that has skaters in it, it's an invitation to other skaters. Anytime, and that's still true today, man. If you find yourself in Burlington, Vermont, hit me up. I got an extra spot to crash. And so that tradition must always live on. Now, I will say, when I go to LA, I'm not really getting an invite to crash at Steve's house. So yeah, that's
odd.
Yeah, I thought that was odd too. Just putting that out there.
Let's see. This one is from Sander Hölsgens. He said, "Do you believe in people having no stance? If so, how may that affect their relationship to the city? Lots of love, Sander.
Wow. Straight to the point. I think stance.
Sorry to cut you off, but you have been working on a paper or something around. You did a survey, right? Around. Like you were asking people to tell what their stance was and that kind of thing.
Yeah. There's not been any empirical work on stance.
Not even in like surfing or snowboarding, or.
I mean, the only paper on stance is a surfing paper where it makes surfers have wave preference. So if you're goofy, you like right waves or something like this. And I'm like, well, no, if you like backside and you're, so I think if you're goofy and you're backside, then you like left. Okay. So, I'm like, that's not actually like helping understand what stance is. And then there's this Jenkem article that's actually really good, but it's totally unscientific, where they're like, hey, how interesting. It seems like stance is like 50-50, 50% goofy, 50% regular.
Is it?
And that's what our survey that is very statistically significant shows.
Really? Wow.
So that disconnects it from other human lateralities. Left hand or right-handedness is like 90%.
Yeah.
Right-footedness is like 80%. So you have, even hair whirl, eyedness, brain laterality. There's so many lateralities on the human body through all these different axis points. But stance seems to be the only one that's 50-50.
Wow. That's incredible.
And so in my mind, I'm like, wow, how crazy that skateboarding, snowboarding, and surfing are like the only real stanced activities. There's a lot of sporting activities that have laterality, but they're controlled by either handedness or footedness.
Yeah.
And you get an advantage if you have a less dominant laterality. Like if you're left-handed, people want you to bat, in baseball and cricket. So it gives you the selective advantage. Strangely, in skateboarding, since it's 50-50, there is no selective advantage for being either goofy or regular. Wouldn't it be crazy, by the way, if only 10% of skaters were goofy?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, then you'd have this Gons is goofy. And so, everyone would be like, oh, I wish I was goofy. I wish I was of this elect, few. But since it's 50-50, you get this much more egalitarian sharing of the body orientations.
Yeah.
To Sanders' point, I think what he wants to ask is whether or not stance is socially constructed or if it's innate.
That's a good question. Yeah.
So when you're born, you have handedness, you have footedness, but do you have your stance yet?
Yeah, it's interesting. But it would be challenging to put a toddler on a board at like 3 weeks old or something. It's a little early to figure out their stance. Yeah,
and in fact, back to Marshall Stack in Seattle at Altogether Skate Park, who's been like teaching little kids how to skate for like 2 decades or something. I spent a week with him and watched how that's the first thing you do. You try to teach a kid their stance, then they have a comfortable orientation in which to ride their board. And so if you have to teach stance, doesn't that mean that you're stanceless before you skate? Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these open questions. And I think what's interesting, though, is you start talking about this with skateboarders and they just immediately throw out counterexamples. Like, I know a guy that like skates street regular, but a bowl goofy, and they're really interested in these kind of one-off, like Rodney Mullen. Rodney Mullen says he's stanceless now,
Is he saying that?
Yeah, about, I think a decade ago, he had an injury. The story goes he had an injury. He tried to change his stance, and now he's kind of transcended, this whole laterality, this natural laterality, to the point where both directions feel similarly
equally
natural.
As comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love that idea, but see, that's like in 20 years we can think about that. Right now, the mystery of stance persists, and
yeah.
I even claim in the book that I wrote with Sanders, well, I wrote it, but Sanders didn't edit it or delete it, so he agrees that actually skaters discovered stance, even though they came long after surfers, it's not clear to me that surfers surfed in a stance, but rather just sideways. I don't think it occurred, and you have to read this chapter to understand the difference between being sideways and being stanced. But there's a lot of, even the term goofy didn't come out till the early 60s, and skateboarding was certainly on its feet by then.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there's a lot of questions to ask. And
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
I mean, I hope so. It is bizarre.
It's wild. I'm regular, and
Okay.
I kind of assumed that there would be a higher proportion of people who skated regular than goofy, just based on just my perception of skating and what I see in videos. And also, this is just my opinion, but I feel like some of the most stylish skaters are goofy. Like, if you think about it, like Gino, like I mentioned Jordan Trahan earlier, like some of the most dope looking skater, and that's very subjective, obviously, and maybe because I'm regular, I see goofy as something kind of different and interesting, and then we can mention a bunch of regular footed skaters that are incredible, of course, but I feel like style wise, goofy footed skaters are kind of better, so to speak, even though it's just my feeling of it.
No. There's like lots of slap message boards that have that.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, they make the same claim. But I mean, and I think this is the interesting thing, like skaters are thinking about those issues, whereas I'm kind of like, well, Tom Knox, the old Tom Knox, he was goofy. Yep. And I'm like, why, as a regular footed skater, like, why did I think that I was skating like Tom Knox? It never even occurred to me that he was goofy, right?
Oh, yeah, interesting.
And so, that should have really mattered.
Yeah. Well, does it? I mean,
I don't know. You hear stories of some skaters like watching videos of people with opposite stance through a mirror, so that they can like appreciate it from their own perspective.
Right.
So, but anyway, there's tons of questions, and I don't think the interesting ones are being asked by your average skater. And so I'm trying to at least elevate kind of the questions about what we should ask about stance.
Okay, this one is from James Van Cleve.
Nuh-uh.
So this guy supervised your PhD, right?
Yeah.
At the University of South California. So he said to ask you about the improved logo for wheelchair parking spaces.
Worlds collide. I think the reason why, James Van Cleve is elite philosophy professor. Like, I can't believe I even got to work with him. When you like talk with someone and after 30 seconds, you're like, this person I'm talking to is a true genius.
Mm-hmm.
You get that pretty quick with JVC. So I'm in Boston. I'm at an American Philosophical Association conference. He's there along with some other USC professors that are, they're doing their presentations, their talks, and I'm there to comment on a paper. But I'm actually there to put up 1,000 stickers of a new moving looking disability symbol. And it's a perfect time because there's a massive snowstorm. And so the cops are busy with other things. And I'm just putting this sticker up. This is like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I probably got like 300 stickers in one night. And
wow.
So basically what it is with my colleague, Sarah Hendren, is it was an orange figure that was like a full person in a chair leaning forward.
Yeah.
And this first thing was orange, and it was a clear sticker. And so you could see the old symbol behind it. And so we were just slapping those everywhere. And 2 weeks later, we're on the cover of the Boston Globe with our symbol. And basically, like, everyone was like, this symbol's way better than the old one. And then in a couple years, the state of New York was like, hey, you have to use this new symbol. Then Connecticut. Then I think it's on all of your phones. It's like, so this is a pretty dramatic thing that occurred, and it's grounded in my graffiti background.
Yeah.
As well as me thinking about marginalized people and how they're stigmatized. And now it's like in the Museum of Modern Art, Smithsonian, it's always being installed somewhere in the world. last thing that I find it to be particularly meaningful, it's outlawed by the Federal Transportation and Highways Bureau because it didn't go through like the standard legal processes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They don't want states to use it. And the state of Ohio adopted it about like a decade ago. And the federal government put a cease and desist order on the state using it. And so Ohio adopted it, but they don't use it. So what that means is it's still illegal. It's still real. It's still from the streets. It's still creating chaos and trouble, good trouble, And so that's why I think it has so much power, this symbol. It's used by disability advocacy groups and all this different stuff. So anyway, can you believe that I got to be part of this?
Yeah, it's incredible.
I saw it in Paris a bunch.
You did? Okay.
Oh yeah. So it's just so
it's become a global thing now.
Yeah, a global thing that I had a small part in just starting, and Van Cleve was there.
Yeah. Amazing.
I remember he saw me at 10 p.m. and he was about going to bed, and he looked at me and he's like, wow, this is a philosophy conference, right? And I was dressed in my street
windbreaker.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Thanks for reaching out to him. I admire him so much.
Well, actually, this next guest asked a few questions, and one of them is around that same subject. So these are from Issac Bjorke.
Yeah, all right.
So his first question is, so how did the accessible icon lose money for you when they literally lined the streets of NYC?
Yeah, this is my co-author for that play paper with Andrei, and he's the one that was like, dude, let's make Columbia pay for the publication fee.
Okay.
So I put it into the public domain so that it's free to use because, who am I? Then you're kind of taking advantage of this disability identity. If you're trying to make royalties off of a symbol.
Yeah.
It's
morally,
just, yeah, ethically, it's not just ambiguous, it's wrong, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But when the state of New York made this new law, all of these sign companies made a ton of cash because they were now producing new signs that, it says in the law that you only have the symbol if it needs to be replaced or if it's new construction. That's so that it would pass without increasing, a budget line or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
But there's no question, all of these companies are making coin off of this symbol. And initially, Sarah and I were like, hey, it also involved a graphic designer, Tim Ferguson-Sauter. Tim's part of this thing for sure. Initially, we're like, hey, if you're going to use our symbol, you have to give 5% of your profit margin to some community that supports disability.
Sure.
But they did not want to do that. It ended up creating a bit of a tangle. And so we kind of just let that go, and we've largely just kind of let the project do its own thing. We don't do anything. We're not actively engaged in anything.
Yeah. Okay.
We're letting it take on a life of its own. And maybe people with disabilities can promote it. There's one person with disabilities named Brendan who's just crushing North Carolina, getting that symbol out there. Respect to Brendan Hildreth. He was there from year 2, which is pretty incredible. So I'm okay with it because that's just how capitalism takes advantage and exploits various marginalized identities. You just know that that's how it works. But I'm glad that I wasn't directly part of making that happen.
Sure, yeah.
Good. What a Marxist you are, Isaac.
His next question is, when is the Manramp fetish paper coming out?
Who asked that? Yeah, that's the life question. Maybe you should write it, Isaac. The idea for a Marxist, commodity fetishism is this idea that certain products have a magical appeal. Yeah. And so, it seems why is Manramp even something anybody cares about or talks about? It seems like he has become part of skateboarding's fetishes. He has magical powers to make you land a trick on a spot that is otherwise inaccessible. So, all right, we started the paper. We got to keep going now.
Actually, this next question is Marx or Smith?
I'm an Adam Smith scholar. I have a bunch of papers on him, and I'm an expert, a worldwide, for all time expert on his juvenile work on the external senses, which he wrote when he was 15. So this is scholar talk for like, hey, I'm important. And I will say that I think Adam Smith started the whole trouble, and I respect that. He's not a capitalist, Adam Smith, in the way that we view capitalism. And Marx's critique partially made Adam Smith interesting in a way that's beyond economics. It's philosophically rich and powerful. To read Wealth of Nations, for instance. So yeah, I'm like, I read more Smith than Marx, and please just, understand. I don't know. I'm Scottish. That's what it is.
And his last question is, could we ever see a Glenney family full length?
Never. My kids would never. My kids would never do that. That's the beauty of skating is, like you were saying, like you make it your own, and then what another does, that's their thing. And if you got to respect those boundaries. And I will say it's a struggle for me to respect those boundaries of my kids because I'm such a huge fan. I want to be part. What they're about. And so, yeah, good question. Good question, but it's a no.
This one is from, this guy, his name is Matt. He told me he's the guitarist from The Path.
Matt Kimball.
Yeah,
Nice.
Matt Kimball, okay. Hardcore punk band from Vermont, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He asked, what is the best hardcore band to skate to, and why is it The Path?
The Path is good. They have this little mascot, a spider bear, and
Spider bear, okay.
Yeah, and you put that on a skateboard, and I'll skate to The Path if you do that. How's that, Matt?
Do you have another hardcore band that is like your top favorite one? Or?
It's hard because I'm not sure hardcore is good to skate to. Punk, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, and then like this thing called Power Violence. Which is like very short songs, very fast, where Spaz is it for me. And shout out to Max, their drummer, he's actually a professor at Middlebury down the road.
Okay.
But if Paul O'Connor were here, he would start shouting out some jazz tracks that are good to skate to.
Yeah. I remember, I think you asked him about jazz for his interview or something. And
Yeah. I don't know. What's your favorite thing what would
to listen to?
Well, yeah.
Or to skate to? I mean,
yeah, that link to think about skateboarding. What do you listen to?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of the skating, because I don't really skate anymore, you know? Yeah. So my perception of skating now is through other people skating, and a lot of it is through videos that I'm watching. And growing up, I, discovered a lot of music like everybody through skate videos.
Okay.
And still to this day, like whenever I hear one song, like I'll be, that was from Arto and Flip, that was from Costin and Yeah Right, that was, there's all these links, this kind of music catalog in our heads from skate videos and everything.
Yes.
So, but there's no one specific genre of music that I prefer or whatever. But
nice.
I love jazz, but we talked about it a little bit with Paul. But I have a hard time. Like I like, for example, the stereo video, or Mark skating to was it Coltrane and Video Days?
Yeah.
Of course, that works. It's beautiful. It's amazing. But still, like I have a hard time listening to it on its own. Associated with skating, I enjoy jazz, but listening to it by itself, like I don't know, it just doesn't do too much for me.
Man, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I was reading Harry Meadley's dissertation thesis,
right?
And I was like, I have to listen to jazz to read this. This is like when you pair wine with certain meals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great, Quentin.
Yeah. Okay, this one is from Max Boutin. Texturologies on Instagram.
Yeah.
He said, which skateboarding sound brings you the most joy or thrill, and why?
Yeah. Well, we've got 2 papers together with Paul on Skate Sound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how skaters love it, but the public hates it. And there is a sound, that squeak when you are doing a tail slide. That's it. What I love is that sound of the squeak. When you're like when you're getting stopped on a tail slide. That is so rich to me. But it's interesting. Like, I discovered a new sound in Montreal when I was skating and I think I was skating super fast down these cobblestones, and I was in this echoey alley, and I was like, this is the most horrendous sound I've ever heard. And a mom and her daughter were walking up, and they turned around and walked away. And I was like, I love this sound. Like,
it's like kind of creating a bubble of protection around you.
But in our paper, there is this component of skateboarding where you have to make noise such that you're always perceivable by the people that you don't want to perceive you. You can't escape it. So, of course, I think people in the audience are like, well, you could just use soft wheels. But for some reason, skaters like the hard wheels because we like the sound that they produce.
Yeah, and also it doesn't feel the same. You can't really power slide with like soft wheels and all that shit. So it's not the same experience. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, this one is from Andrei Buckareff.
Okay, yeah, real philosopher here.
He asked 2 things. He said, regarding Molyneux's problem and the skater's eye. Suppose someone was blind from birth and they become a skater. Obviously, the sensory modalities upon which they relied when learning to skate would not include vision. Suppose they become sighted. Would they be able to identify and skate the same features relying on vision?
Yeah. Well, would you just read the last chapter of my book, Andrei? So I actually think a lot about, blind skaters that use canes.
Yeah, like Dan Mancina. Yeah.
And there's an episode where, gosh, I can't remember his name, where there's a sighted skater learning to skate with a blindfold on. Gosh, it's been...
Oh, is it? I think it's with, isn't it with Dan and Matters Apps?
Yeah, it's Apps. Yeah, Matters.
Yeah.
And the skaters are like, yeah, we're gonna ollie down this 3-stair. The blind skaters with the cane. We're gonna ollie down this 3-stair. You do it with us blindfolded, and Matter like bails a bunch.
Yeah,
I can't really do it. And then he says this statement like, "How funny! I have to relearn all my tricks again."
Yeah.
And so that makes me think that blindness is kind of a transformative experience in the sense that you really can't know what it's like to be blind unless you are blind.
Yeah, for sure.
And what that amounts to then is you're skating differently if you're blind than if you're sighted. And that ability would not transfer. So if Dan Mancina acquires sight, puts his cane down, he would not be able to skate that ledge.
Yeah. He would need to learn it again.
Because
it's a whole other thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do think he would have a quicker uptake because he has a body habitus for the skateboarding. But I think skateboarding is so multimodal that you would have to relearn it with this additional sensory feature.
Yeah. Did you ever talk with Dan Mancina about your studies and stuff? Because I feel like it would be interesting to talk with him.
He would be interesting to talk to. I think he's building a skate park specifically for individuals, with visual deficits, and that's where I want to go up there. But it's Michigan or something.
Michigan, I think so. Yeah. I was gonna say
Yeah, but I read everything about them, and I think about them, and I have 3 papers, and I can't finish any of them. So maybe I have to actually. This is good. I didn't realize this. I actually have to go meet him and skate with him. Quentin, I think you're right. I really do have to have that experience before these papers can be done. That's the problem. That's all right.
That would be interesting. I mean, even just for the experience of meeting with him and watching him skate. I mean, he rips obviously, but and also it's interesting because he used to. I think he became blind
later in life.
his adult life. Yeah. So he used to skate being able to see, and then he lost his vision, and now he's adapted his skating to being blind. But I'd be curious. I'm sure there must be some out there, but blind skaters that were
born blind
from birth.
Yeah. There's one congenitally blind skater that I know of, but man, his name escapes me. He's got long hair. He's sponsored by Mountain Dew. He also wrestles. I think he was going to be on a Special Olympics. No, I can't remember, but some other Olympic team. But anyway, and he's pretty good. So, you don't need vision. You don't need the skater's eye.
Well, yeah. Andrei asked another thing. He said, which was gnarlier, Gons kick-flipping the Gons Gap at EMB, Cardiel's 50-50 down the rail in Union Square, or Pedro Barro's transfer over the Duncan in the combi at the 10th Vance pool party?
No, I got familiarity with those. I mean, I think about the Gons kickflip all the time. I actually front 180'd the Gons Gap when I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
That thing looks pretty big, yeah.
It was so big that I was like, I can't ollie it. I have to, get extra board length from doing the front one.
Yeah.
And it's a magical kickflip. It's rocketed.
Yeah.
There's all these things that you can the normal kickflip, you're going to hey, you got to do that again. You got to do that again. But then for some reason that I just saw it yesterday. I can't remember who, on Instagram, someone was putting out there, and I'm like, that really is it.
Yeah.
My youngest kid, Axel, I think he's got Gons's kickflip. It's a little rocketed like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's his business. That's his thing.
Yeah, sure. This one is from Will Devereux.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
So he said the photographer's eye versus the skater's eye. That's it.
Yeah.
Because you are a photographer as well.
Yeah. And I take it from below. I got the fisheye. I take from below to try to get, to capture the trick, the background, and the skater, and hopefully get their face in. And Will has asked me this. He's like, it seems like you need the photographer skater's eye to actually be a good skate photographer. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a million skaters' eyes. And this actually just a talk I gave, and Will was there, and he asked me after. So I'm glad he's making this question public, because this is him. This is Will that like really pushed me. So yeah, Will's right. You need the camera skater's eye to be a good skate photographer.
Okay, let's do this one.
Good day, Brian, you debonair designer of destiny. I have 2 questions for you. 1. In the time with which you've lived, you have created and done so many wonderful things, and at points seemingly catastrophic. Are there any moments or memories that you have from when you were a child doing something crazy of creativity, and then later finding your children repeating it, kind of like an ironic turn of events where you're like, oh, wow, I understand why my father could have been bummed on this, or anything like that? Kind of a weird question, but I figured, why not? And then second question, because I got 2. Dude, did you pretty much make up Manramp when we were skating Double Rock with the Worble crew, B and the D? You know what I'm saying? Is that how Manramp started? Either way, it doesn't even matter. The truth of the matter is I love you, respect you so very much. This is Andy, by the way, and I hope you continue doing what you're doing. You're an amazing person, and I love you.
Yeah, I mean, he was like the head of camp at Element Skate Camp, and basically snuck my whole family in for years for free.
Oh wow!
And
amazing.
And that's, I think, like the key to my kids' like real love of skateboarding. Because for Andy Dicker, it's not about how good you are at skateboarding; it's how good of a person you are. And he impressed that into my kids, and it just Andy's the real deal. Double Rock, I held a rail as my son skated it. And that was before Manramp. That was before like the plywood thing.
Okay.
And that's on Thrasher on one of their Double Rock videos. And I think that's what he's referring to. But Andy people, like I used to do that as a little kid to my friends. So people have been holding little skate obstacles up for others to skate forever. Yeah. And then I feel bad for the way that I behaved as a child for my parents, because they weren't ready.
They didn't know how to deal with you.
Yeah, they didn't know how to deal with me. But I was ready for my kids. So I think that they've not surprised me or anything like that, but they also haven't told me everything they've done.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, actually, I think, didn't Axel give Andy Dicker a tattoo when he was like 12? Like my youngest boy gave.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, anyway. So there are things, there's things I don't know about that maybe Andy Dicker knows about.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right, let's do these last ones. Let's see.
Hey, my name is Vera, and my mom has a question, and it is, what does no bad vibes mean for you, or to you?
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Alex Ferrara.
Joint question from your daughter and your wife.
Yeah, Alex Ferrara took this picture of me at skate camp, and I got this mustache and a smile, and I'm really, truly happy. And then my wife put a sticker, no bad vibes. And that hangs on our wall
to this day,
because I'm an old head, and I get worked up, not at people, but just like, I'll give people a hard time. So thank you, Lisa. That's my partner.
I have a second one from her.
It started. Wait, hold on. Oh, sorry. This is the mom. I also want to ask him, at what point does his mustache become too heavy to carry?
Wow. It's a burden. She knows it. I shaved this.
We're not wearing it right now.
I'm not wearing. I shaved it a day. I shave it at the end of the semester because
okay.
I need to be free of the burden of authority.
The weight of knowledge.
Oh, indeed.
All right, I have just a couple last ones. Let's see.
My other question is, what do you find most interesting about yourself, and what do you find most interesting in the work that you do?
Yeah, that's Vera.
Vera, yeah.
Yes, my daughter. We talk about this stuff all the time. I don't think I give a good first impression to people, and I'm prickly, and I didn't really understand that about myself until like a couple years ago. So that's kind of interesting about myself. And then I wake up at 4 a.m. and I start writing and reading.
You do that every day?
Every
4
day.
a.m.?
Every
wow.
day. I don't skate every day. I write every day. And
in the mornings usually then?
Yeah, the 4 a.m. supernatural. That's another thing that I found out about myself, that like the golden hours, like in the morning for me.
I know Jim Thiebaud, I think, does that as well. Yeah. Wake up super early.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think getting locked in on an idea is like getting locked in on a grind, and you just want to keep going. And coffee helps, as you might know. Mm-hmm. Coffee helps, and a variety of other kind of things to kind of cultivate that grind. But I'm trying to grind the longest rail ever, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, couple last ones.
Hey, Brian. My question for you is, how the hell do you publish all this material? It's amazing. There seems to be another Brian Glenney publication every couple of weeks, and I'm just about getting some time now to start reading through them. It's really valuable. I'm really grateful for your contribution. Thank you for putting all this time in. My question then is really kind of how, partly, do you manage to do that, but also why? What is it? What kind of why publish? Yeah. In your view, what does it do in the world? I'm really keen to hear you talk on that. Another side note, rather bigger than that, but I'm dismayed, saddened, horrified by what I'm seeing happening in your country at the moment. And I kind of would really welcome your thoughts on how skateboarding kind of exists within that, or what skateboarding might do when the government has become the greatest agitator of all? What do the pirates do that you speak of? What do the disruptors? How do the disruptors disrupt? Or do they not? Do they disrupt by not actually engaging politically? Yeah, just really interested in how you kind of extend that sort of urban terrorist idea into this current situation, if you can. It's all very recent and very alarming. Perhaps it's not even possible to draw back from it just now, but I'd really welcome your thoughts if you can. Looking forward to hearing your Beyond Boards podcast. Cheers.
Yeah. Skate mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're in a despicable situation with Trump.
Yeah.
But I think it's always been like this. You know, this is what punk taught us. How horrible our governments treat their citizens and other countries in the world. So, you know, I mean, the past participle guy, I don't know his name, but he just was posting stuff on his story. He's like, oh my gosh, Jello Biafra was actually right about everything. And of course he was. It's just like the rest of us are becoming aware of this that didn't grow up with Jello. And skateboarding has developed alongside all of this exploitation. So there likely is some kind of way that they correlate. And I think, you know, Ocean Howell has a bunch of papers on what he calls the poetics of security, where there's something really strange that happens in a city like urban planning, where they essentially plan to keep some people out, and then the people that they want in, they plan, you know, the architecture to control their behavior. And when skaters come in, it kind of like makes this like known to the public. Like skaters kind of come in and say like, oh my gosh, or sorry, they'll skate the spot, a cop will throw them out, and the public's like, whoa, I didn't actually realize that not everyone in the public could actually use this, right? So it like starts to generate a set of questions in people's minds about like the uses of public space, how they're being controlled themselves, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that actually the Poetics of Security might be the best skate paper ever written. It's 2001, Ocean Howell. It's where I always go in moments of doubt. and since Embarcadero is like a topic of convo, he has the best take on where it came from, what it is, and where it's going. And it can speak to the future of Embarcadero. But anyway, so the reason why I keep going and why I'm writing about skateboarding is because I'm like, what can skateboarders do? You know, I don't know. I mean, like, relatedly, what can punk do, right? I mean, punk is just a bunch of mics and guitars and screaming, but Crass realized that there's a performative argument that you could make where you're just so crass that the people that are committing all these atrocious crimes take notice. And, you know, like Margaret Thatcher's like, Crass, oh my gosh, you guys are disgusting. You need to be censored, right? And then Crass is like, well, maybe aesthetically we're crass, but you are morally crass.
Yeah.
Right? So I always wonder, you know, and I'm still searching. I don't have the answer. Can skateboarders in their performing of their identities have a kind of performative argument against exploitation, you know, against the way that these nation states are destroying our world? These are open questions. And I think that's why I'm up at 4, kind of pushing and, you know, pushing my 20 miles a week, so to speak, on a skateboard, but, you know, grinding through these ideas, reading and trying to understand. And it is weird because like even Ocean Howell in this 2001 paper, he's like, you know, skateboarding's not that big of a deal. It's like nothing. But then he goes on to say like, actually, it has these like pretty crucial ramifications for how one understands the city and how the city betrays itself. So that's, I appreciate that question, Esther. That's the reason why I'm motivated to keep going. There's something about skateboarding we don't know yet.
Yeah. It's a search. Search, kind of.
Yeah, and it's going to have a socio-political upshot. I mean, just one, like the pirates, right? In their golden age, they were the enemies of humanity. And every nation state sought to destroy the pirates.
Yeah.
In that sense, you could say that they were the most powerful group. And they numbered in like the thousands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what's to say that skaters aren't kind of like that?
The modern day pirates.
Well, the golden age pirates. What's to say that skateboarders aren't similarly in their forms of disruption doing something like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but essentially more subtly. But again, everywhere you're in the world, you have no skateboarding signs, and you know, there's clearly an enmity between the world, you know, the public and skateboarders. And I'm like, how do skateboarders use that to change the world?
Let's wrap it up with this very last one from Clifton Evers.
Yeah.
He said, it's 2050. Where is skate culture at?
Yeah. Well,
kind of a vast question, but I thought it would be interesting to have your take on that.
Yeah, let's think prefiguratively. Let's think about the future potentialities. So Clifton works in what's called polluted leisure. Essentially, like most of the activities that we engage in depend on really toxic and polluted materials, spaces, etc. You know, surfboards are made out of like really toxic, you know, okay, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of papers inspired by him that talk about this new thing that gets grants for skate parks. You find like a Superfund site or a brownfield, you get a grant to have it remediated, made not toxic, and you plop a skate park on top of it as part of the remediation because that concrete will keep off-gassing from doing, you know, horrible things. So that it can like naturally, you know, mitigate its gas. So I think the more we pollute the earth, sadly, ironically, the more opportunities there are for skaters to do what they do.
Yeah.
You know, to appropriate these toxic spaces, these toxic social landscapes, and kind of glean from them these really positive, communal, egalitarian, and forward-thinking, imaginative uses of the space and communities. And I don't know what that exactly looks like because I'm old, and I'm set in my old head ways. And what I'm inspired by are these kids doing new stuff, new ways of thinking, new ways of skating, new spots, not just new tricks, but new kind of archetypal features in the landscape.
Yeah.
And I think those will tell us what this future of skateboarding is.
Well, let's wrap it up here.
Thank you so
Brian.
much, Quentin.
That was fun. That was super interesting.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you so much.
That's it for my conversation with Brian. Check out his website, brianglenney.com, where you can find a lot of his written work. Glenney is spelled Glenney. And follow him on Instagram at skate.or.phi, that's PHI, to keep an eye on his upcoming projects. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.